Uh, what else? My NAS is going out of support this year, so I have a Synology NAS that I've had for 10 years, and it has been absolutely flawless. Like it's been a wonderful piece of hardware, but they've decided to just stop supporting that model, which I get. I mean, it's been a decade. I don't know how long you expect someone to support something. So, but it kind of leaves me in the lurch. Like, do I try to install some kind of a distro on it? Like, I don't even know if I really can. I think it's a kind of like a, I don't know if it's an ARM processor. I don't know if it's like that or some like maybe some sort of an Intel. I don't even honestly it's been so long since I bought it. I don't even really remember what the specs are, but it's the type of thing I threw it in a closet and it's just been chugging away ever since. I do cloud uploads. Like I have offsite back up to a separate server just in case it dies on me. But yeah, I'm kind of painted into a corner there and like forced to do something about it. So either I can put something on it and keep it running, which is, I mean, I hate to not keep using it. It's working fine, but if I have to, I guess I'll do something else. And like all my decisions are heavily swayed towards like what could my wife deal with if like I'm having an issue or you know what I mean? Because like
Yeah.
all of the stuff that all of my friends do, like you guys, I think, yeah, it'd be cool to do some of that, but then it's like, my wife would never have a clue how to deal with any of it. So, yeah,
What kind of
it's
specs does it have? Do
it's
you
that's what
know?
I'm trying to remember. I think it's like I want to say it's like a Celeron almost, or something around there, or an Atom, maybe an Atom processor. So it's
A
kind
low
of along
power?
those lines. Yeah, I mean it's the type that you could put a Plex server on it and it could do some of the streaming and encoding, but it would be terribly overloaded. You know what I mean? Especially anything over probably 1080p if it could even do that. So I never
Sure.
even bothered to run much on it. I've done like networking stuff on it. You can run uh, like Pi-hole kind of stuff on it. You can, do DNS on it. You can do uh, all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, Synology's got a pretty cool ecosystem for stuff that they support. You can actually run like Docker containers on it and stuff as long as it's all sort of like lightweight and not too processor intensive.
So it's their
So I've
own
done,
OS.
yeah, it's kind of, I think it's almost like I want to say it's a BSD, but it might be a Linux base. But it's like that. I mean, it's just all web interface. You can use a terminal, so you can do SSH to it. There are, like there's a command line. So, I mean, it is like a proper operating system. It's pretty heavily gated, which, I mean, you'd kind of expect for something they have to support. I
Sure.
mean, it's met every need that I've had as like a small, home office kind of thing with my wife using it and me using it, and um, I've I've had for a long time a process where it backs up from any local computer to the NAS, and then it will stream out, offload another copy onto a server, so I have multiple points of failure for backups, and uh, but
How
it's
much
it's just
storage?
been such a it's got right now it's got like it's laughably small compared to what you guys probably have, but it's like 4 terabytes.
That's a lot. I don't have much
I mean,
storage just because I don't store a lot of stuff. Like these guys are data hoarders, you know.
Yeah, I don't either.
I know when I hear people like, "Oh, I've got like 40 terabytes." I'm like, "What the hell are you storing?"
Yeah.
But anyway, and that's with like I've got my movie collection, music, but I am not a hoarder. I'm definitely not a hoarder. I have a couple hundred movies and all stuff that I have, the DVDs. I just was backing them up and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah. So I'm not exactly sure. It's like I could probably live without it. Uh, I used to use it more than I do now, in terms of just needing like a third, or an independent storage solution versus having storage just in different computers. And um, So I could probably eliminate it, but at the same time, like, if I could get something that's a little more modest maybe, or I think I paid around $600, 10 years ago. And I
Right.
have to say that, for that price, like, it definitely paid for itself. I mean, um, and so I'm sure I could do something cheaper than that, but it replaced a Debian system that had been running for probably 7 or 8 years before that. That was just like an old Dell Optiplex, tower system with, 4 4 disks in it, and, Debian, running, an array, and, like, Bacula, and, just some basic kind of stuff like that. But, um yeah, at the time, I was really busy with work, and it was the same thing. I was never home. I was always on the road, and it was like, "You know what? I just don't have the time to mess with this." So, what NAS solutions are out there? And I remember Synology and, like, maybe a few other ones at that point that were viable, and I just kinda thought, "Okay, this one looks good." 4 bay, setup, and, yeah. So yeah, I'll just have to see if, like I said, if I can get something running on it, I think I probably will try to. The biggest challenge I think is going to be it has a kind of proprietary uh, file or disk format, like a files. What am I trying to think? A file system. So
Oh,
it's this specific Synology, but which I think is like a Btrfs, and it's like a layer on top of a Btrfs, and like
so you
maybe
can do snapshots
LDFS
and
or
stuff.
something? Yeah, yeah. So, I don't know, like, how I'll be able to if I can do, like, an in-place upgrade and have a new OS understand what's there, or if I'll have to do some sort of a migration, or, what the deal is. But, um, yeah, I don't know. Because the other thing is I don't really have it facing there's no external access to it. So it's not like if it doesn't get a security patch within, a certain amount of time, like I feel like it's a major security risk.
Right.
And there are things I could even do to harden that even further. So, like, I could probably just put my head in the sand for another year or two if I was really had to. But it's not something I can ignore forever. So I'll probably just start looking for options. But yeah, other than that, yeah, the Wi-Fi thing, I did some research, and, I used to have the, Google Home stuff, the Google Wi-Fi years ago, and then I actually now have the Synology, Wi-Fi because I enjoy their NAS so much. I got their Wi-Fi stuff, the mesh networking, and it's fine. Like, I like that it has a lot of, filtering and controls and stuff for the content. Like, I just for my daughter's devices, whether it's her phone or not, laptop or whatever, I just add it to a group, and then that group has policies in terms of, like, uh, almost like a Raspberry Pi or something, or a Pi hole, like, where you're basically telling it, like, you know, what, types of websites she can go to, and so there's kinda like a automatic blacklist sort of thing. It gets updated, and also I can control the hours that she has access to the internet and different stuff like that. So, and also it has, like, a really nice web interface where, a lot of networking equipment has pretty, crappy web-based interface. So, I kinda went with that, and it's just I feel like the hardware, like, they cheaped out on the hardware, unfortunately, and I think it was probably, like, a cost-cutting thing to stay competitive with, like, not being too expensive. And honestly, I wish they would have just done better on the hardware, and I would have paid an extra 50 bucks, or something per unit, because, like, when it restarts, it takes a solid 5 minutes for these things to come up. And it's just like, "Is this ever gonna come on?" Is it broken? Like, so, and that's I mean, I guess that's maybe not such a big deal, but it just feels like it's overtaxed in a way, you know? Um, and sometimes the mesh doesn't stay connected. I have a wired backhaul to have, like, halfway around the house, like, so that it's not just, Wi-Fi network only, and Like it doesn't seem to help as much as I thought it would, and I don't know. It's never been stellar. It's it's good, but it's not great. And I've just heard better things about like some TP Link devices and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna maybe see what it takes to do that. My house though has stucco walls on the inside. So if you know, stucco has that metal mesh underneath that lathing material, which makes almost makes it like a Faraday cage. So even though it's a one level home, like I have to have all these Wi-Fi points because like the signal just does not carry. So so I kind of need a mesh network. So, but I think that's it. I don't know. I could keep going, I guess, but I don't know that there's anything else worth talking about.
You know, that would make it good.
Oh, I wanted to mention too, just
Go
very
ahead.
briefly. I didn't participate on the 24-hour New Year's thing stream, but as you saw me comment on Element, like on Matrix, I jumped in at a very interesting time.
Oh yeah, that was about the old growth forest, right?
The manscaping conversation.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
Old growth forest.
When I heard I get the crew cut for the summer, I was leaving it. So.
It's pretty great.
It was excellent. Oh god.
Mortensen, didn't you have a Synology NAS?
Yes, I absolutely hate it.
Because you initially tried to put did you ever try to use the Synology software, or did you like right off the bat try to put something else on?
Nope. It's Synology software.
Oh, okay.
I think that's just proof of how lazy I am, frankly. Because it is pretty severely dumbed down. Although it does let you do, I don't know. I guess it's all in what you expect out of it.
You know, I was thinking, since you got all that storage, but it's a low power server, that would be good to a good like PC backup server, like backing up your archives and stuff like Borg backup, or use a tool like that on there if you could install like a vanilla Debian, or even if Synology has something like that, and you could do
they have kind of a sort of their own version of something like that, and I have used it. It works pretty well. I mean, I have my laptop. I have two laptops, and my wife has her main system, and then I have a desktop, and my daughter has a laptop. So like 5 computers really, and I mean, honestly, everything my
I have
daughter
more than that
does,
in this
it's very-
room.
I was about to say that's small potatoes, buddy. No
I
telling how
know,
many
I know,
have.
which is it's funny to me because I'm always like hearing people talk about the stack of laptops they have and buying more, and I'm just like, why do you need more? But I'm just not a hoarder. I drives me crazy if I have a bunch of stuff, and I just like I purge regularly, like to get rid of things because I can't handle. It just bothers me. So I don't know if it's like an OCD thing or what, but I can't handle having a bunch of stuff packed away. And I'm not a collector. I've never done like baseball cards or coins or like my life is as stripped down, as simple as it can be. So that goes with everything else technology wise as well. So
Honestly, sometimes that sounds real nice.
it is. Because my wife's not like that. So we I guess we complement each other, maybe, if that's how that you could be kind to say it that way. But yeah, my wife's
Or
like
you
a
negate
goldfish,
each
like
other. That's another way of saying it.
Yeah. I always joke with her and tell her she's like a goldfish because supposedly a certain fish will grow as big as the space you give them. and I feel like every open surface she ever sees, like it's just a place to put something. Like it's not that the place that space could be left open, like it has to be utilized. Anyway, but yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it would be good as a like a background, anything background, right? Anything it doesn't have to do actively, it would be good for that. So background backup system. Um, you know, it's not a bad file. Like I do all of my media on it, and I actually just my I have an Ethernet, you know, decent enough Ethernet connection between it and my desktop, which is actually running like my Plex server and all of my media stuff. And so, like, I don't have any of the files on my desktop; they're all on the NAS, and so I stream everything over the network, and it does really well with that. So, I mean, as a NAS, it functions well. And like I said, I've tried other things over the years on it. I did run a Docker something or other on it years ago. And yeah, it's not for the money. I think you could do a lot better if you're an IT person. I mean, if you understand how to set up anything remotely close to that. I mean, setting up a RAID array on any given Linux distribution or BSD or whatever, and then just having the file system, you know, file servers, or you know, sorry, the file systems, and then whatever sort of, you know, networking that's behind that. You know, the configuration to do all that stuff is pretty straightforward and simple. It's just anything beyond that, you know, is a little more can be more complicated, and so like I don't know, I may not even replace it with something like I said, but if I can get something running on a third party and have it just be, you know, just have it work. Again, the laziness. If I could just make it work with little effort, then I'll do it. But either it's just going to stay where it is, or I guess I'll be forced to replace it at some point.
Yeah, my Synology didn't fit my needs or what I expected it to be able to do, and that was all based on what somebody else told me I could do with it.
I would imagine if you thought that it had any kind of horsepower whatsoever, because it is definitely not powerful, like in the slightest. So, like I had to do some indexing and like, you know, stuff that was more processor intensive, and it will take a very long time because it's a pretty low power thing. So yeah, I would think if you were wanting to do any kind of like media encoding or anything like that, it would just be pretty terrible.
Yeah, I purchased it as my Plex server,
Yeah, I could see that.
and
not
even
being
though they spout that you can run Plex on it, you cannot.
Well, you can run the part that's just going to serve the file, but it's certainly not going to be able to do any of the encoding or any of that. But yeah.
Yeah, the first couple of years of running Plex didn't work for me because it was on the Synology, and as soon as
Now, did
I
you
put
think
it
it
on
was?
something else,
Did you think it was the Synology device, or did you think Plex was no good?
oh, I
Or
immediately knew it was the Synology device. I
Oh, okay.
I could see it sucking down all the resources and not responding and rebooting, and yeah, no, it was very very clearly what the issue was.
No in-depth troubleshooting.
No, lots of
Gotcha.
troubleshooting trying to figure out how to get it to work, and the answer is you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have
But
to.
yeah.
I still have to build a central server of some kind, but I don't have that much. I don't do video much. I do images and I do text, and that's very tiny.
It works great as a NAS, and I think I said I was going to send it to Netminer.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, either something like that, or I mean, I looked at one point at an external hard drive enclosure so that you could just have the disks, and then, either Thunderbolt or whatever, even just USB, I guess, connection to, I mean, you could do just a low power, you know, small form factor PC or something. I mean, if you can scrounge an old desktop from somewhere, that's kind of ideal because then you have enough room for the disks inside, and as long as it's not, high watt, like a high TDP, like it's not going to burn a lot of electricity. But that's kind of like the best first project I always recommend for someone if they're trying to like I've had younger family members say, "Oh yeah, you were in IT. Like, how did you get started?" And I was like, "Well, I tinkered, And I was like, if you can just get a hold of like some older, old PC and just kind of throw some disks in it and, fire up Linux and, create a RAID array and, just play around with it. Like, you're not going to hurt anything." So that's how I learned everything was just, I had access to like a PC graveyard and just sat there and pieced things together and, got it working.